Hi there, my name is Crystal and welcome to my channel, Books for Forever After. And today we're going to do a this or that romance edition tag. I have a set of questions and we're just gonna answer them. So let's get started. Alright, so first question is cliffhangers or HEA? And HEA is happily ever after. So romance, we gotta have HEA. I mean, that is essentially what a romance is, right? Although I can appreciate a good cliffhanger if it's part of a duet and it does get it resolved in the second book. So I don't have to wait too long for the second book. So that's my limit. Those are my stipulations. Take them or leave them. Okay, so hardcover or paperback? Oh gosh. If you would ask me this a few years ago, I would have said for sure hardcover. But now, just reading a lot more, I love a good paperback, but a really good floppy paperback. I mean, you open that sucker up and it is just there. You just hold your hand, folds perfectly over. It's nice. Very nice. Very, very nice. The hardcovers look so pretty on the shelf. I mean, my whole thing is, why do I have to choose? My main stipulation is I wish they could, if I had a hardcover or paperback, I would prefer them to be all the same type, so it looks better on my shelf. But there are pros and cons. So yeah. Alright, so next question. Angsty or cutesy? Angst all the way. I do love a good rom-com, but it's, I like a light fluffy romance every now and then, but I really love a good angsty. It's emotional. It's like making me feel something, So, love angst all the way. Emotional or rom-com? Like I said, emotional. Same thing there. Why choose? But definitely would go over emotional versus a rom-com. Booktok or Bookstagram? I mean, I look on Bookstagram more often. I like to watch people's stories, so that's why I'm not much one for posts. So for me, posts don't really matter. I like to watch people's stories. It's like a quick 30 seconds, but Booktok is also very alluring as well. Because it's like, no other format can get me to immediately add a book to my TBR with just like a 10-second reel and then like a phrase from the book, which I guess is kind of like the trend with TikTok, and there's like Booktok, or there's some debates on that method. But I mean, it's great marketing. I mean, you would think maybe they are doing that. More publishers are doing that. I know that's probably what a lot of the indie authors may be doing, is like Instagram and Booktok, but yeah, definitely pros and cons of both, of course, but more comfy, I feel like, with Bookstagram. So, but in reality, I'm like, I really started with Booktube, so wish that was an option, but yeah, whatever. People or object covers? I love having people on my covers, especially with historical. Like, you give me a good clinch cover and just a really good setback. There's just something about it. It just really breaks my heart too when they're going to these different kind of covers that just are not to look bland and boring, I guess. Like what they've done with the Bridgerton ones when they repurpose it because of the show. I don't know if I have an example of how I do not like those, but either way. Now fantasy, now we're going to romance with fantasy. I don't mind objects on the cover. I really don't, especially when it plays into like what's within the story, and like once you read it and then it makes sense, the front of the book makes sense. So I can really appreciate that kind of foreshadowing a little bit. So, but yeah. New releases or backlist. I haven't really been much for like new releases unless it's a book that I've been really into. I definitely love to do backlists. If I find a new author, it's like reading to rediscover and trying to get all their books. Especially with historical romance, a lot of times, you know, the really like the main authors, like Johanna Lindsay, like she's passed away, so like there's no more going to be really published books by that author unless they do like a re-release. So especially a lot of the earlier ones as well, like the very first editions, like down like back in the 80s and 90s and that sort of thing. But yeah, I would say backlist. Let's keep it there, backlist. TBR or free for all. So TBR means to be read, or free for all. I'm a mood reader, but at the same time, I need to have a plan in mind of what I want to read. So basically, to have a flexible TBR, that if, these are the books I want to pick, and depending on my mood, I'll pick from this stack to read. And sometimes I might just nothing sounds good, so I will be a mood reader and pick something else off my shelf. So, but for the most part, I think I like to have that guidance a little bit. Open door or fade to black? Open door, baby. Open door. I think if you're gonna give you the steam, I want to see it. I want to feel it. I want to be there. I don't want the fade to black. The skin's kind of, if it's done well, especially like obviously young adult is fade to black, so I can do without spice, but as long as it is like there's still some angst and emotion there, it's keeping me drawn in. I like the characters, then sometimes spice isn't necessary, but it feels like there is because there's all this tension between the characters. Because it's like the build up, to it that really makes it really satisfying, so to speak. So like all the angst and the build up. So audiobooks or ebooks, paperback. I am not much of an audiobook person. For some reason my brain easily gets distracted trying to listen to an audiobook. If I have to be doing even driving, I will sometimes go off into La La Land even while driving, not listening to the audiobook that I do. So that's why I think graphic audio has been helpful. I recently just read parts 1 and 2 of the first 2 books for A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I've already read those books, so that's been nice. I can read an audiobook while also reading a physical book at the same time, so it kind of like a whole experience, and it kind of cements that. So I don't know what kind of brain that kind of alludes to that I have, but I wonder if I'm alone in that. I don't know. Let me know. Can you read audiobooks? Can you not? Do you get distracted? Or do you like to do like the tandem read kind of a thing with audiobooks and a physical book? Also, if you asked me like even just a year ago, I was an ebook snob. I'm like, no, physical books all the way. That's it. And I just recently, like a month or 2 ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, doesn't matter, just was able to get a Kindle Paperwhite in my first ebook. So I was reading off the Kindle app on my phone, which I started last year doing that. And yeah, it's just funny the things that you're like, nah, I'm never going to be reading that, or such a stickler or snob about something, and then all of a sudden you just change your mind. It's just like the convenience of it is nice, but I can appreciate all formats, I should say. So physical, ebooks, audiobooks, depending on the nature. Like I said, graphic audios. So Kindle or nah, Kindle. I do like Kindle. It's nice. It is very convenient. Which is really cool is when I purchased my Kindle at a special where you got like a $15 credit towards ebooks, and that was really fun to be able to get like 3 books or so, because like each was like $4.99 each. So with that one I got Jana Darling's what is it, the second one is Beautiful Nightmare, but the Dream series, the duet I should say. And then I also got The Doctor by Nikki Sloan, I believe. And so, but yeah, I think I read that one last month. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on that, I do have a August wrap up where I talked about a book. But yeah, definitely Kindle. It has grown on me, for sure. Buddy read or fly solo? Fly solo. I have never really done a buddy read. Like I hated in college, like in high school, we can only read like the first 2 chapters. You couldn't go further. I'm like, I would just want to continue. I mean, if it was a book I really wasn't interested in, I could do it, but I just want to be able to read on my own, and then when we're done with the book, talk about it. So that's why I do really like the book clubs on, book clubs on BookTube. I do follow this Smut Club with Oh Hey It's BK and That Tall Book Girl. And I also follow Historical Hellions, which is Oh Hey It's Samantha and Peace Love Books book club. And then also Ravished by Romance, which is like a fantasy romance most of the time kind of book club with Peace Love Books and, oh gosh, I think her name is, oh, I can't remember her name. I haven't watched it and I haven't done the book club in a while, so I can't remember. But I will definitely post it down below in the description, their channels. But yeah, that has been really fun to kind of do. Recently I've been, because I read maybe 10 to 12 books at most of the time of the months, I kind of just been, most recently I only read the book if I know if it seems interesting to me, to want to read that book, to want to read that book, I'll join it. But if I don't, I might join the talk, but I don't want to read the book, then I'm not going to read the book, because I don't want that kind of pressure. Small town or dark romance? I really don't like this one, because a dark romance could be placed in a small town. It kind of doesn't, it's not mutually exclusive, you know what I mean? So that's really not a cool one. How about light romance or dark romance? That would make more sense, but here am I criticizing the questions, but that's just me. I do like I like the small town feel. It can be kind of cozy. I haven't read too many recently that felt very small towny. A lot of the times it just feels like they're like isolated from the rest of the town. There's not like much interaction. But I have liked the TV show, I think it's called Sweet Magnolias or something on Netflix, but I hear those are the books, so that sounds interesting to try to read those. I am interested, I had not read Catherine Cowles, and I know that Peace Love Books really likes her books. I have tried Daphne Perry's, I just don't know. I tried the most recent, they did a read along for the MC series with like Steel King and forget what the other book is. But it's like a disbanded MC small town romance. It felt mainly suspense, heavy on suspense, very barely any romance. I just don't know if it's I just don't jive with her writing, or is it just I need to try something else. So I might try something else by her in a different series and see if it was just that series in particular I didn't like. It also it felt like it's in the same world as another series, so even though you could read those, it felt like it was missing something. But yeah, apparently the main suspense plot kind of like flows through the whole series, which I don't know. I don't know if I read any other small towns, but yeah, I do definitely like dark romance. So dark romance has been a very big foray, I think, end of last year. And I see it particularly more in indie romance. And I have to say, so far, Deanna Darling is my favorite dark romance author at this time. I think I have yet read Sophie Lark, but I'm really interested in reading from her. I follow her on social media, and there's other booktubers I follow that I know like her a lot and her books a lot. So I'm really interested in reading from her, and she seems pretty cool. I do know that she's going to be releasing like an Anastasia inspired romance novel soon, and that sounds really cool. So definitely going to look into doing that. But yeah, like dark romance lately. I didn't think I would be into mafia romance, but you know, with Deanna Darling, that was kind of cool. So I haven't read her Fallen series yet. I've read her earlier works, and I just finished Beautiful Nightmare. So yeah, really look forward to delving more into that. I seem to, and that's really where the good like spicy books are. I feel like sometimes it's dark romance, or like taboo, forbidden romance. I know sometimes I have to be in a certain mood. This time of year, I'm just not as much in the mood as for the dark romance. Maybe a little more like, I think, like Gothic Kana. I haven't read that one yet, but like kind of like the darker Gothic theme type. Sounds really interesting for this time of year, but other times, like right now, I'm more of a mood of fantasy romance during the fall. So, well, that was a long-winded way of explaining it, but it is what it is. New adult or adult? I used to actually like young adult not too long ago, but I'm starting to feel like I'm getting too old for this crap, you know. Or just not feeling it sometimes. But I think I like adult preferably. New adult, you know, like college area time period. Sometimes it's just if the heroine or MC is just, if they don't come across too young, you know what I mean, they're mature or something like that, but that can be kind of a hit or miss sometimes. You have to like the character in those instances. Sprint read or marathon read a series? Okay, this is a little misconstruing, I think, but sprint read to me, I believe, is just reading it back to back immediately, sprinting through it. Marathon read a series sounds to me you take your time and not necessarily in a rush to read everything in that series. That's kind of like what I did with Throne of Glass. I took my time and just read through with like 100 pages of the book, man. So I took my time. A Court of Thorns and Roses, I read those suckers in like span of a month, which could be like a week technically, depending on your definition of a sprint. But to me, I read those pretty quickly, like back a book a week kind of a thing. But there's some instances like that's the books from indie authors, like duets and things. I will sprint read those in like span of 2 days or so. and I want to say the Wolf Hotel series. So that series, for some reason, that started off a couple days of not being able to sleep. Like that started some really bad insomnia, and I think it was just a stressful time for me, to be honest. But earlier this year, like I literally read like 2 books of those within one day. So I was done through that series within 2, max 3 days. That was some really bad book hangover there. I do not want to do that again. Where I literally just like begging, crying to fall asleep because I could not sleep. It was like the worst insomnia. If you have an autoimmune disease, like I have Hashimoto's, if you have that, you understand when you get insomnia due to your hormone levels or whatever. It's one of those symptoms, but it was the worst insomnia ever. Now, if I am reading a book, I just can't stop reading a book. That was a Hades Persephone series by Scarlett St. Clair earlier this year, and I think I read that in January. That I would like read until 2 or 3 a.m. I was like, it was just so, I don't know, obsession reading. I don't know. It was really good. I could still sleep then, at least fall asleep that night, but it was just like when you're just like, I just want to read this book. It's all I want to do, and it's just so good, and it's just such a good reading experience. And then you're just at the same time like, wait, I don't want it to stop. I don't want it to end. And then after, it's just like the worst. You're like aimless and book hangover. Even if you have TBR, it's just like no motivation. You kind of have to sit and take on that personality almost of the book for a while. Just me? Okay. Alpha or Sweetheart Hero? Alpha all the way. Sweetheart Hero, or Cinnamon Roll Hero, I guess they say now. I'm like, I don't want like an alpha, like asshole hero, like an alpha hole hero, but I do want like I like the dark and broody type of hero. That makes sense. Who's like a who did this to you kind of thing, possessive, obsessive kind of hero. Sweetheart Hero, it's kind of like too sweet, kind of hurts my teeth. And maybe if it's done right, and maybe those kind of work in rom-coms sometimes, the especially like the Allie Hazelwood ones, the kind of like sweet kind of, or Christina Lauren, those kind of books. So sometimes I guess it works depending on the author. Sometimes an author can make me love something that I typically would hate, so or not like as much. So I think it just depends on the theme of the book, and such. So do you read multiple books or one at a time? I used to be one at a time, but I would be reading 3 books at once. So usually an ebook and a physical book, and sometimes an audiobook at the same time. And sometimes I will be reading 4 or 5 because sometimes I just don't want to read one. Or if it's part of a book club, that's why I kind of stopped doing book clubs a little bit. Only joining book clubs if I for that month for that book if it's really interesting to me. I don't want to force myself not to like finish something. I want to finish the book because I don't want to have to DNF a book, which is did not finish, basically. Baddie or Damsel in Distress? Aren't we all kind of tired of damsels in this distress? To be honest, I may be starting a political argument here, but I know we all grew up with Disney, and that was kind of like how we were taught as girls, and that's what I mean by us, or we, us girls were, basically taught to be damsel in distress and that kind of thing. So it kind of makes sense in why we like baddie heroines, you know, thrown in class, or heroines that start out, you know, traumatized or, you know, inside their shell, and they grow out, and, you know, it's this self-discovery kind of a thing, and become stronger, and they have a character arc, where they're completely different now at the end of the book, and now they're stronger, and they're really, it's where you like kind of fall in love with those characters, because now you're like, yeah, see, you can go from there and end up here, and now she's like a badass kind of a thing. So yeah, I like a baddie because, to be honest, especially in historical romances, I love the banter. Banter between the hero and the heroine, and some angst, and a second chance romance. You got yourself a book, and you got yourself, I will take my money. I will read that. Slow burn or insta love? Oh gosh, it has to be slow burn. Although insta love, I can understand if it's like a fated mates kind of a thing, and maybe that instant attraction, and it's kind of like, then the angst and the slow burn is because they can't be together for some reason, or it takes them a long time to stop denying their fated mate status or something like that. Slow burn, I love a slow burn. I don't want to just fizzle out, you know. You start and it fizzles, and then you're like, you got like 40% left of a book, or 50% left of a book. You're like, what else? Like, what's gonna, like, come on. So yeah, I can appreciate a slow burn. Now if it's too slow and it's dragging, then you're gonna lose interest, kind of thing. And it doesn't mean necessarily it has to be spicy or steam, but at least angst. Not in steam in that way. So where there's some angst or something like that, that is keeping me in the story. So, alright, so I think that was 19 questions. Okay. Well, that was it. Alright, so those are all the questions for the this or that romance edition tag. Let me know of any other tags, if you would like me to do any other kind of tags or any other kind of videos. Don't forget to like or subscribe, and that's it. So thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.